I needed to share this because I still can't believe what happened. I'm Sarah, 27F, and this is about my now ex-boyfriend Edward, 27M. We started dating during our freshman year of college after meeting in a shared chemistry class. We bonded over our love for science, similar sense of humor, and shared dreams of careers in medical research. Our relationship blossomed quickly, and soon we became inseparable. The past 10 years were filled with beautiful memories. Edward became an integral part of my life and family. My parents adored him, especially my dad, who always wanted a son. They would spend hours discussing sports and working on home improvement projects together. My mom considered him the perfect match for me, respectful, career-oriented, and family-focused. Even my older sister Lisa, 29F, approved of him, which was rare as she was always protective of me after a bad relationship I had in high school. Edward was my first real relationship, and I was his first everything. He was a virgin when we met, having focused mainly on academics in high school. I always thought this made our relationship special. We discovered everything together, grew together, and planned our future together. Recently, we had been engagement ring shopping. He took me to several jewelry stores, showing me different styles and asking about my preferences. We even put deposits on a few rings he liked. Last week, we were at my family's winter cabin for our annual Christmas gathering. This tradition started 5 years ago when my parents bought the cabin in the mountains. It was a beautiful place where all our relatives would gather during holidays. This year, there were about 15 of us: my parents, Lisa, my cousin Emma, 31F, a few aunts and uncles, and some younger cousins. The cabin has 4 bathrooms, with the one next to our room mainly used by Emma and Lisa since their rooms were nearby. That morning, around 6 a.m., I woke up to the sound of the shower running. Through my sleepy haze, I noticed Edward wasn't lying next to me. Instead, he was leaning over the edge of the bed in a strange position. At first, I assumed he was just checking his phone, something he often did when he couldn't sleep. But something felt off about his posture. He was too still, too focused, and angled oddly towards the bathroom door. I watched him for about 30 seconds, still groggy from sleep but increasingly concerned. When I finally asked what he was doing, he turned around looking annoyed, almost angry, as if I had no right to question him. He quickly showed me his phone screen with Twitter open and said he was just scrolling. I apologized and pretended to go back to sleep, but kept watching him from the corner of my eye. That's when I saw him checking his photos and deleting something. My heart started racing as a horrible suspicion grew in my mind. I waited until he locked his phone, then quickly grabbed it. When I asked to see it, he refused, but I already knew his passcode. We had always been open with our phones, never having trust issues before. In his recently deleted folder, I found what I feared: a video showing the bathroom door crack, positioned perfectly to see inside while Emma was showering. I felt physically sick. 10 years of trust and love shattered in an instant. When I confronted him, he immediately apologized, saying there was no good explanation and that he was stupid. But here's the worst part: this wasn't the first time. 2 years ago, I caught him trying to record my sister changing in our guest room when she stayed over during a difficult time in her marriage. He had sworn it was a one-time mistake, blaming it on too much alcohol and temporary insanity. He begged for forgiveness, promising it would never happen again. I believed him then, partly because we had been together for so long and I thought I knew him. Edward tried to explain himself, saying he was curious about other women since I was his only sexual partner. He claimed he loved me and would never actually cheat, but just wanted to look. As if that made it any better. I was disgusted not just by his actions, but by how he tried to justify them. He suggested maybe he needed therapy, but it felt like he was just saying whatever he thought would make me forgive him again. I immediately told Emma what happened. She was horrified and wanted to tell everyone, especially Lisa since she had also been a victim. But I begged her to let me handle it first. I didn't want to ruin Christmas for the whole family, particularly my younger cousins who adored Edward. We quietly packed our things and left early, telling everyone Edward had a work emergency. Emma agreed to wait until after the holidays to tell others, but made it clear she would eventually tell Lisa. The 3-hour drive home was the most uncomfortable experience of my life. Edward kept apologizing and crying, saying he would get help, that he didn't want to lose me, that we could work through this. But all I could think about was how many other times he might have done this without getting caught. How many other women had he violated? Had he shared these videos online? Posted them somewhere? The thought made me sick. We had been planning to move in together next month. We had already put a deposit on an apartment and bought some furniture. All our friends were expecting an engagement announcement soon. Now everything is ruined. 10 years of memories tainted by this betrayal. I can't even look at old photos without wondering if he was secretly recording someone during our happy moments. I broke up with him as soon as we got home. He's been calling and texting constantly, begging for another chance. His family called too, asking what happened. His mother, who had always treated me like a daughter, left tearful voicemails asking me to reconsider. I haven't told them the real reason. Part of me wants to expose him to everyone, but another part feels ashamed, as if I should have seen this coming after the first incident with my sister. Now I sit here, looking at the engagement rings we had put deposits on, wondering how I could have been so blind. How did I not see this side of him? Was I just fooling myself after the first incident? I need advice on how to handle this situation. Should I tell his family the truth? Should I inform our mutual friends? And most importantly, should I tell Lisa that her incident 2 years ago wasn't just a drunk mistake? Update 1 first, I want to thank everyone for their support on my last post. A lot has happened since then, and none of it is good. I finally told Lisa about what Edward did 2 years ago. Her reaction was worse than I expected. Lisa broke down completely. She revealed that after that incident, she had felt uncomfortable around Edward but kept quiet because she thought she was overthinking things. She also told me something that made my blood run cold. Apparently, during family gatherings, she had noticed Edward following her with his phone several times, especially when she was going to change or use the bathroom. She never said anything because she didn't want to cause problems in my relationship without solid proof. The worst part came when Lisa told our parents. My dad, who had treated Edward like a son, was furious. He wanted to confront Edward and his family immediately. My mom started crying, blaming herself for not noticing anything wrong. Emma finally told everyone about the Christmas incident too. That's when other female relatives started speaking up. My younger cousin Katie, 19F, said Edward had offered to help her with college applications last summer. During their study sessions, she caught him trying to position his phone to record up her skirt, but she was too embarrassed to tell anyone. My Aunt Sarah mentioned how Edward always volunteered to help set up the security cameras at family events, which now seems suspicious. I was devastated. Not only had Edward betrayed me, but he had also been secretly violating my family members for years. I decided to block him on everything, but before I did, I downloaded all our conversations and his messages. Something told me I might need them. Last week, one of our mutual friends, Rachel, reached out to me. She said Edward had been telling everyone a different story. He claimed I was making up lies about him because he caught me cheating. He even showed people edited screenshots of conversations to prove his point. Some of our college friends actually believed him and started posting supportive messages on his social media. I was furious. I forwarded all the evidence to Rachel, the original messages, the testimonies from my family members, everything. She was shocked and immediately cut ties with Edward. But the damage was done. Edward had already convinced several people that I was the villain. Things got even worse when his mother showed up at my workplace. She caused a scene, crying and demanding to know why I was spreading lies about her perfect son. My coworkers had to call security to escort her out. I had to explain everything to my boss, which was humiliating. Then yesterday, Emma called me in panic. She found a hidden camera in her bathroom at home. It looked exactly like the ones Edward had helped install at her housewarming party 6 months ago. She's having her entire house swept for cameras now. The police are involved, but they said without concrete evidence of him placing the cameras, there's not much they can do. They're investigating the camera found at Emma's house, but Edward is denying everything. I feel like I'm living in a nightmare. The sweet, caring man I loved for 10 years turned out to be a predator who targeted my family members. Now he's trying to destroy my reputation while playing the victim. His family is harassing me, some friends have turned against me, and I'm constantly looking over my shoulder. My dad wants to confront Edward directly, but I've convinced him to let the police handle it. We're documenting everything and saving all evidence. I'm also planning to get a restraining order since Edward keeps finding ways to contact me through different numbers and accounts. The hardest part is realizing that the man I almost married never really existed. He was just a facade hiding something much darker. I keep questioning every moment of our relationship, wondering if there were signs I missed. I'll update again if anything significant happens. Right now, I'm focusing on supporting my family members who were victimized and trying to protect myself from Edward's lies. Update 2 more truth has come to light, and it's even worse than I imagined. After Emma found the hidden camera in her bathroom, she didn't trust the police to handle it quickly enough. She hired a private investigator recommended by her lawyer friend. The investigator did a thorough sweep of her entire house and found 3 more hidden cameras, one disguised as a smoke detector in her bedroom, one behind the mirror in her guest bathroom, and one hidden in a fake sprinkler head facing her backyard pool. The cameras were sophisticated, with motion sensors and wireless capabilities. According to the investigator, they were expensive models typically used by professional surveillance companies. Edward had clearly invested a lot of money in this sick hobby. The investigator discovered all cameras were linked to a cloud storage account through a specific email address. While the email wasn't obviously connected to Edward, the investigator found it was used to register on multiple adult websites specializing in voyeur content. The account had been active for 4 years and had posted hundreds of videos. Many featured Emma, Lisa, and other women from our social circle. Some videos were from gym changing rooms, hotel bathrooms, and pool parties. The investigator even found videos from our college days, meaning Edward had been doing this throughout our relationship. Most disturbing were the comments Edward left on other videos, sharing tips about camera placement and discussing the best ways to avoid detection. He had built a reputation in these communities, sometimes selling his videos to other members. When confronted with this evidence, Edward crumbled. He admitted everything, probably hoping a confession would lead to leniency. He claimed it started in college when he accidentally saw a girl changing through a window. He said the thrill of watching someone without their knowledge became addictive. Over time, he got bolder, buying better equipment and targeting specific women. Then came the biggest shock. During police questioning, Edward's mother had a breakdown. She admitted finding some recordings on his laptop during his final year of college. Instead of reporting him, she helped cover it up. She paid off 2 girls who had caught him trying to record them in the university gym showers. She convinced them not to report him, claiming it would ruin his future medical career. This revelation explained her aggressive behavior toward me. She wasn't just defending her son, she was protecting herself from being exposed as an enabler. The detective said she could face charges for obstruction of justice and paying off witnesses. The news spread through our social circle like wildfire. Edward supporters, who had believed his lies about me cheating, turned against him. The evidence was too overwhelming to deny. His workplace fired him immediately after learning about the charges, not wanting their medical research facility associated with him. Looking back through old photos is surreal now. I noticed patterns I had missed before. At every party, every family gathering, Edward always positioned himself near bathrooms or changing areas. He volunteered to help set up at events, claiming he enjoyed being useful. Now I know he was scouting locations for his cameras. Even during our vacations with friends, he always insisted on handling the accommodation arrangements. I wonder how many of our female friends were recorded in those hotel rooms. The police investigation has revealed the full scope of his activities. They found evidence linking him to over 50 recordings spanning 6 years. Some victims were underage at the time, leading to additional charges. They're still identifying victims from his online posts. His mother is facing serious charges too. Besides the college incident, investigators found evidence of 2 other times she helped cover up his behavior. She paid off a housekeeper who found a camera in their guest bathroom and convinced a family friend to stay quiet about a similar incident. I've been helping the police identify potential victims from our social circle. It's heartbreaking calling friends to tell them they might have been recorded. Some had suspicious incidents they had dismissed, thinking they were being paranoid. Others had no idea and are devastated. The district attorney says Edward will likely face significant jail time given the number of victims and the presence of minors in some recordings. His mother's charges are also serious, especially since she used her position as a school board member to pressure some victims into silence. I'm still trying to process everything. The man I loved for 10 years, who I almost married, who my family welcomed as one of their own, turned out to be a predator who violated not just my family but countless other women. Every happy memory is now tainted by the question of whether he was recording someone during that moment. Update 3. This will be my final update. The past few months have been a roller coaster, but things are finally settling down. After months of legal proceedings, Edward pleaded guilty to multiple charges of voyeurism and creating/distributing illicit content. The evidence was too overwhelming for him to fight. He accepted a plea deal and got sentenced to 6 years in prison plus registration as a sex offender for life. During his sentencing hearing, he showed no real remorse. Instead, he tried to blame his behavior on childhood trauma and his sheltered upbringing. The judge wasn't impressed, especially after hearing impact statements from several victims. She told him his calculated, long-term exploitation of women who trusted him showed his true character. His mother received 2 years probation and 1,000 hours of community service for her role in covering up his crimes. She also had to resign from the school board, where she'd served for 15 years. During the investigation, they found emails where she had threatened victims with lawsuits if they spoke up. His father, disgusted by her actions, filed for divorce after discovering she had secretly used over $200,000 from their retirement savings to pay off victims over the years. The police investigation identified 47 victims in total. Many were from our social circle, friends, family members, and even some of his former patients from the research facility where he worked. Some videos dated back to our college years, involving our classmates and dorm mates. The police tech team is still working to remove all content from various websites, but they say some videos may never be completely erased from the internet. Emma and Lisa filed a civil lawsuit against Edward and won a substantial settlement. Instead of keeping the money, they used most of it to create a support fund for all the victims, helping cover therapy costs and legal fees. Other victims have filed similar lawsuits. Edward's father has been cooperative, providing information about his assets to ensure he can't hide money from the victims. I sold the engagement rings we had put deposits on and donated the money to a victims advocacy group. I also decided to move to a different city for a fresh start. The memories in our old town were too painful. Every street corner reminded me of Edward. My new job in medical research is going well, and being away from all the familiar places has helped me heal. Some mutual friends still send me updates about Edward. Apparently, he's having a hard time in prison, which I find difficult to sympathize with given what he did. His father reached out last week to apologize again for his wife's behavior and let me know Edward had tried to write me a letter from prison. I told him I didn't want to receive any communications from Edward ever again. The hardest part has been rebuilding trust with my family. They felt betrayed not just by Edward, but also by me for defending him after the first incident with Lisa. My dad especially struggled with it. He blamed himself for welcoming Edward into our family and giving him opportunities to harm more women. We're working through it slowly in family therapy. Emma and Lisa have been incredibly supportive, saying they understand why I wanted to believe him after the first incident. I've stopped looking back at old photos or questioning past memories. I deleted all our pictures together and blocked anyone who still supports him. What's done is done. I'm focusing on moving forward and building a new life. A few people have suggested I try dating again, but I'm not ready. I need time to trust my own judgment again. If sharing my story helps even one person recognize similar warning signs in their relationship, then something good has come from this nightmare. I've learned that someone's public persona can hide dark secrets, and that ignoring red flags only leads to more pain. This will be my last update. Thank you all for your support throughout this ordeal.